Hey everybody, Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings. If you're watching this video at any other time of the year, then hello friends. Welcome to Board Game Sanctuary. My name is Danny, and today we're going to be looking at board games for any sort of gamer out there. Whether you are new to board gaming, a Eurogamer, someone who likes to play solo, or someone who loves word games, there is a game for everybody. Stay tuned. Hey man, I got you a Christmas present. I hope you like it. Oh, it's what I've always wanted. The rulebook to Root, learning how to play and the lore of Root. These are great, but I don't actually own the game. It's okay. If you're good, I'll think about gifting it to you next year. That's after I've played it, of course. I remember the immense joy that I felt when I discovered modern board gaming for the first time. It was like being a kid on Christmas morning, ripping open that Christmas wrapping and seeing a brand new board game inside and unlocking its secrets, mechanics, strategy, stories, and themes, and realizing there's a whole new world of games out there. In this category, we are looking at a game for brand new gamers. A game that you might want to introduce to a family, friend, or relative that might not be familiar with complex board games. And the gateway game I'm suggesting is Herbaceous. Looking for a game that evokes the feeling of hanging up some mistletoe on Christmas Eve, or a game that is as tantalizing as a Christmas roast on Christmas Day, then Herbaceous is the perfect stocking filler for you. In Herbaceous, players are going to be growing, picking, and potting herbs. Players are going to be drawing cards and placing them in either the shared community garden or their own private garden. Players are aiming to collect and pot different sets of herbs, sometimes gathering them in different types, sometimes in pairs, and even potting some special herbs to earn a cookie. Although this game looks chill, it's a tense game all about the correct timing, as you can only pot the sets of plants once per type of scoring pot per game. Herbaceous is a crafty game that is great to play next to the fire on a wintry Christmas day drinking hot chocolate. Or if you're like me, it's probably going to be 42 degrees and you'll be drinking kombucha by the pool. Ultimately, it is a game that will have you singing "Oh Christmas Tree" whilst you watch your victory points grow. There's several reasons why I would recommend Herbaceous as a really great entry-level game for people who are new to gaming. First of all, I'm really drawn to its theme. I love the botanical theme and the idea of planting herbs and cooking Christmas Day lunch, and this game would just be a perfect fit for any family gathering. The simple mechanics of picking a card and deciding where to place it either in your private garden or in the community garden presents a really interesting dilemma and a dichotomy of choices for players to try and think through. I love how this game uncovers the layers of complexity as you progress and play throughout the game, and people who are new to board gaming are going to be enamored by the deep level of choice that players actually have and the impact that's going to have later on in the game. Deciding when to push your luck and when to actually grab all those plants that you need and pop them into your pots before the deck runs out is a really important timing mechanism that definitely players have to think about. Euro board games are board games that have been around for decades. They usually involve a lot of interwoven mechanics that provide lots of different avenues for winning, as well as a theme that usually centers around gathering resources, converting, building engines, and getting victory points. There's rarely luck involved in these sorts of games, and it's a game that I like to dive really deep into and sink my teeth into because it's probably one of my favorite game genres, especially worker placement games. But the game I'm suggesting for any favorite Eurogamer in your family this Christmas is Red Cathedral. The Red Cathedral is a Euro-style board game where players take on the role of architects as they influence guilds, build parts of the cathedral, and decorate them with beautiful ornamentations and rubies. The game utilizes this cyclic rondel mechanism where players roll different colored dice, move them around this wheel, and gather resources where they land. Like dressing a department store shop front before Christmas Eve, players will ultimately be contributing these resources to transforming the cathedral into a majestic piece of architecture.
Through claiming different sections of the cathedral and scoring them, if they have a majority in each column, players will earn recognition and ultimately prestige points. Like Santa's elves preparing for the Christmas run, players will be drawing upon the efficiency of their workshop by selecting dice that match in colour to score combos and bonus effects. The Red Cathedral has a lot of depth and is ultimately an eclectic mix of strategy and decoration, enough to give the annual Christmas tree lighting a run for its money.
The Red Cathedral is probably one of my most favourite Euro small box games, and it's definitely on my top recommendation list for you to get this Christmas, especially if you want to satisfy the inner Euro gamer in you. One of the things I really love with is the idea of this rondel mechanism that features in the game. Players can choose a particular dice and move it around the board based on the pip number, and if they can kind of get the dice to appear in the same little section, they can get that many resources equal to the number of dice there, and being able to create a little engine of resource gathering can help you to secure and build some of the cathedral first. I really like the area control game that happens around the cathedral, and whoever has built the most parts of the cathedral in each of the different columns means that they'll gain the most endgame victory points from that column. I also like the fact that you can build decorations like little spires as well as a little roof and little archways, and by encrusting them with special rubies, you can enhance the amount of victory points you also earn from there too. I really like the fact that each of this part of the rondel is separated into 4 quadrants, and each quadrant has a bonus or special action that is randomized at the beginning of each game. So there is a huge plethora of choices, branching decisions, and the interplay of putting the little workshop tiles onto your little workshop board and unlocking mechanisms where if you use a particular die, you gain a bonus. There's multiple triggering factors that kind of connect together to make this game feel like a really well-oiled machine. Are you someone who enjoys working as a team and cooperating together and finding your part to play? Love a really good immersive story and just want to be taken on a journey? Well, do I have the game for you? The perfect game for cooperative gamers this Christmas. The Adventures of Robin Hood. Give me a sec while I put my green tights on.
Christmas is all about wearing tights, dressing up like an elf, and sneaking through Sherwood Forest, right? Well, if you play The Adventures of Robin Hood, you will definitely feel like one of Santa's naughty elves, except you have a bow and arrow and be robbing from the rich and giving it to the poor. The Adventures of Robin Hood is a game that reminds you that advent calendars actually make great board games. Players will be walking in the shoes of Robin Hood, Maid Marian, and their crew as they try to rebel against the Sheriff of Nottingham and escape the capture of the Guy of Gisborne. Players will be drawing discs from this treasure bag as players traverse the map using these wooden figures which act like little rulers, measuring the movement of their characters across the board. Throughout the game, players will need to speak to different characters on the map, fight guards, and stay in the shadows to avoid being captured. As players surge through each chapter, the story will change and the board will remember what has been explored before. It is a game dripping with theme that has every elf envious of the adventure ahead.
I'm not sure if there's anything that I can say that will really truly convey how amazing and how fun this game is to actually play. It's probably one of the best and most thematic games that I've played this year. The Adventures of Robin Hood really truly takes players and immerses them in the Robin Hood lore and the story. There's quite a few elements that I would like to highlight here that I think are superb. First of all, there's this bag drawing mechanism where when you fight a guard, you draw out some cubes, and if you draw a white cube, you defeat the guard. This is a beautiful mechanic because in the game, the quicker you move around the board, the less likely you're going to be putting white cubes into the bag, meaning that the guards have a higher chance of winning each time. And I really like also how the board is divided into light zones and dark zones, so players can kind of keep to the dark zones, especially if they want to evade being captured by guards. So sometimes players will have to venture in the light to get an item or talk to a person that will lead them to their destination or help them complete their quest or give them bonus items. There is a huge thematic element to moving through the shadows and moving into the light, and that really fits so well with the theme of the game. If you're someone who hasn't read a lot of the Robin Hood stories, this is a perfect way to experience the story. Got someone in your family who's a bit of a word sleuth, or someone who really likes to showcase their vocabulary? Well, I've got the perfect game for that family member, and it is Masterword. Think of it as Mastermind, but with words.
Master Word is a game that evokes that memory of playing word games with the family on Christmas Day. I often remember opening a bonbon with a family member and sharing the funny jokes hidden inside. Master Word is a game that has players devising key words that link to a topic, all with the hope of narrowing it down to a key answer or phrase. The topic might be Christmas, and players might have to use key words like red, food, or character to narrow it down to a mystery answer. It takes the original game and flavour of Mastermind, where players had to guess the sequence of 4 coloured balls hidden behind a screen, to another level. What I love about Masterword is the fact that the game generates some great conversation, which sometimes can be tough at Christmas. It is great for playing online, and one that just warms my heart like a chestnut roasting on an open fire.
Masterword is a brilliant game of word deduction that takes some familiar concepts from games that you've played before, like Mastermind and 20 Questions. It takes those elements, funnels it into a beautiful and well-distilled game, which has players working together to collectively pooling their knowledge to try and sort out which of the answers is the one that's hidden on the card. What I really love about this is that it's all about the knowledge and putting in keywords that will split the pool of answers apart. So for example, if you're looking for a Disney film, is it animated? Is it not animated? Does it have animals? Does it not have animals? Does it have music? Or doesn't have music? You can see where I'm going with this. The idea that you've got to subdivide all of the answers, kind of like chopping up a pizza, is something that makes this game absolutely brilliant. I like how that you're working off clues that you have come up with, and the person who knows the word is merely just guiding you along the way. Sometimes Christmas is a time where you just want to spend it on your own, and I totally get it. I mean, the introverted in me really wants to just get away from all those annoying aunts and uncles and get away for a while. Well, the game that I would definitely recommend for any solo gamer, and it's my game of the year, is Sleeping Gods. What? Christmas list? Oh, we better get to it.
Have you ever played The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and wanted to sail wherever you want and explore whatever you want? Well, Sleeping Gods is the ultimate Christmas gift, featuring an immersive story, theme, and open world exploration. Throughout the game, players will be breaking Christmas tradition and leaving their real-life families on a journey as a crew member on this rickety ship known as the Manticore, as they manage their crew, health, resources, items, and treasures. Players will be exploring this atlas of islands, venturing off to complete quests, uncovering story threads, and creating memories of their travels on this map. Players will be using command to pay for actions and gain abilities along the way that synergize with their characters, and stopping at ports to purchase items. A story is not without its immense challenges, as players will face a plethora of creepy creatures that look like they crawled out of a Charles Dickens novel. Players will be fighting them, attempting to cover the hearts on their grid spaces by using this innovative combat system. Sleeping Gods is like a good novel that takes you by your imagination and threads it with wonderful stories, characters, and legends.
Sleeping Gods is probably one of the best board games I've played this year. It is a fantastic, narrative-rich, fully cooperative experience that is perfect for solo gamers or people who want to spend those really long, late Christmas nights pondering over a cool narrative and following lots of different character and story arcs. This game has it all. What I really like about the game is players are going to be crewing this Manticore. They'll be using this worker place mechanism to just manage the ship to ensure that everyone's well rested and prepared for the adventure that lies ahead. I also like the fact that there's this open world mechanism where players can explore any island on this map that features in this Atlas book. You really feel like Link exploring the Breath of the Wild. What I also love is the fact that you're managing a crew of 7 different characters, and you can gain abilities for those characters to help strengthen and synergize their particular individual playstyles. I also like the narrative book that provides a really cool story arc for you to follow and pursue, and every time you play a campaign of Sleeping Gods, you well and truly feel like you've played an epic adventure movie. Do you know someone who's really into science fiction, fantasy, is a huge film buff, and loves a really good fighting and combat game? Well, the game I'm going to introduce to you is kind of a blend of both worker placement, deck building, and combat. It is Dune Imperium.
Dune Imperium is a board game that is flowing with spice. It is an excellent tight deck building worker placement game where players are playing cards from their hand to trigger bonus actions as well as sending agents to different regions of the board. Players will be boosting their influence with the 4 factions, they'll be paying Solari to the council to earn bonus effects as well as traversing the sands of Arrakis itself in search of that all-important spice. The card acquisition system in this game is so cool, as it uses the unused cards from your hand to purchase more powerful acting cards, allowing you to fully customize your playstyle. Combat is cool too, as players can play intrigue cards, deploy units, and make attacks to battle for victory points and important resources. If you feel like you need a bit of escapism this winter to somewhere hot like the desert, and you fancy a joyride on a giant sandworm, then this is the game that really ticks all those boxes. It distills good mechanics into tense gameplay.
Every now and again there's a board game that comes along and truly takes your breath away. Dune Imperium has players dipping their toes in the really hot sand, and if you're a long time follower of Board Game Sanctuary, you'll know that I'm a really huge fan of Euros and worker placement board games, and this game combines elements of worker placement, deck building, resource gathering, as well as an interesting combat system. There's so many elements in this game that not only elevate the theme of the game, but also immerses you in the world of Dune. What I really love about the game is the fact that players are collecting spice, then they're selling off the spice to gain income, and then using the income, they're influencing the council to gain some game-changing abilities that helps expand and make their actions more efficient. Players are influencing the 4 factions, and this is the racing element to try and gain victory points as well as the temporary victory points in order to move up this victory point track. The different factions have their own certain play styles that appear in the deck itself, and each of the cards has a really cool dual function. Each turn, players are going to be playing a card, and whatever icon appears on that card is where they can send their agent on the board, and that is super cool because not only do you get to send your agent to a place to get an effect, but you also get the effect that appears in the grey section of the card. And any cards that you don't use on your turn, you can reveal them to gain a total amount of persuasion, to purchase more powerful cards, to ramp up the power level of your deck, and also play sword cards to increase your combating ability. And combat in itself is so fun. There are so many elements that really synergize so well in this game that makes this the perfect game for any sci-fi film buff. Are you spending this Christmas with only one other person, say a loved one, a best friend, or even a significant other? Well, I've got the best board game for 2 players to add to your Christmas list. It is Land vs. Sea.
Land vs. Sea is a tile-laying game of tug-of-war. It is a simple game where one player fights for the land and the other the sea. Whenever a sea is closed, the sea player gains victory points, and vice versa for the land player. Like a chorus of choral singers, players can score points by chaining mountains and coral together, as well as establishing a big trade route. Some tiles have bonus actions that allows a player to steal a tile or play a second one. It's like the discount you get on the post-Christmas Day sales. There is an interesting ebb and flow that this game has, especially when players are fighting to close or open up a region. The hidden information on the double-sided tiles are like a little postcard of places you've yet to see but are ready to explore. Land vs. Sea is a game that is definitely travel-worthy with its simple design and addictive replayability.
There are multiple reasons why I would definitely recommend Land vs. Sea as a game you should put under your Christmas tree this year. First of all, it's puzzly in nature. If you're someone who likes completing those 1,000 piece puzzles and completing areas and seeing something appear and be created in front of your eyes, then this game ticks all those boxes. The idea of building a beautiful cartographic map across the game and seeing it grow is something that this game definitely evokes. I also like the tactical nature that this game provides. As the map grows, the options of where you place your tiles each and every turn becomes more plentiful. The fact that your tiles are double-sided, where half the information is visible to your opponent and the other half is kind of hidden, provides opportunities for you to surprise the other player. Also, I like the fact that this game has multiple modes and different options of play. You could simply play it as the land player versus the sea player, or you could add in the mountain and coral variants and add extra scoring elements. I personally like playing with all of them together because it provides for a much crunchier and richer experience. I also like the strategy that this game kind of offers, where you might be trying to vie for a really big sea region and your opponent might be trying to expand that sea region so that you can't score it. There's this huge tug of war effect that this game definitely presents to players. Usually around Christmas, families are often always searching for things to do after they've opened their presents, had their get-togethers, and they're cruising in the afternoon. Well, sometimes a family member might suggest, well, we should spend some time at the park. Well, that would be the perfect time to introduce this game to your family. Parks.
Parks is a gorgeous nature-themed worker placement game that features these cool wooden mini Christmas trees. Throughout the game, players will be navigating the weather as they travel along this linear bushwalking trail, gathering resources and taking photos of wildlife, especially these elks, as they go, all with the aim of claiming park cards as well as their Scout's honour. Players will prepare for their Christmas holidays by using items to enhance their camping experience, as well as their watering can to trigger bonus resources. Whenever I play Parks, I always imagine playing it with the family in a rustic log cabin on a weekend away in the woods. It has such a great tactile but also immersive visual feel to it. As the game progresses, the trail becomes longer and players will have to tiptoe their way through the trail hoping to get what they need without treading on the other player's toes.
Every time I set up a game of Parks, I always feel like I'm unwrapping a beautiful Christmas present. They've really packed a whole lot of nature into this one box, down to this beautiful stars and this very thematic wooden Christmas tree. What I think is brilliant about this game and why it's definitely a beautiful fit for families is that there's enough mechanics in here to feel meaty, that you are playing a game that is crescendoing in some way. The trail that players are moving their workers along is extending across the 4 rounds. There's a lot of weight to the decisions that you're making about where you can stop and what resources you actually need to get to try and vie for these beautiful park cards. There's a lot of thought behind how you're going to move your worker along this trail, whether it be trying to get to a spot so that another player behind you can't use that particular space, or is it skipping the queue and trying to rush to the end and getting the particular bonuses first? I like how you can kind of stop and take photos and take in the scenery. Unless you're trapped in a snowstorm, then you'd probably be wanting to do that from the comfort of your lounge room. But this is a brilliant game that honestly, I'm going to treasure this game for years to come. So, what did you think of this year's gift guide? I hope this video gave you some suggestions or even some starting points of some board games for particular people in your family or friendship group. If you really want to see more Christmas videos, check out last year's Christmas video. I'll leave the links in the description box below. Other than that, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and jangle that little notification bell, because it's Christmas, of course. And I look forward to seeing you in another board game review in the near future. Stay tuned because there's more to come. See you later. Merry Christmas from the land down under. Goodbye.